Hello, my name is Savannah Hamilton, and I want to thank Pastor Tommy for this honor. Today we'll share a textual message coming from different chapters in Exodus. Today's title is To Obey or Not to Obey. My topic is Disobeying Leads to Consequences. As children, we had to obey our parents. However, there was times that we did not obey, and there was consequences. This is the same thing that happens when we disobey God. God is our Father, and we must obey him. Obeying God is something that all Christians must do. As Christians, we are going to obey God's As Christians, are we going to obey God's every command, or are we going to disobey God and follow the devil? God will send someone to help us, just like he did in Exodus when he sent Moses to the Israelites. God came upon Moses, and God can come and talk to you in many different forms, as in he did in Exodus 3:2-10. The angel of the Lord appeared to Moses in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. The flame that Moses saw was in fact God's uncreated energies and glory that manifested as a light, thus explaining why the bush was not consumed. When the Lord saw that Moses turned to look, God called to him. God told Moses his identity. When he did this, he affirms that his intent is to fulfill his covenant to his people. Moses then hid his face. The Jews had actually believed no one could see God. If they did, they would not live. The Lord said, I have surely seen the oppression of my people who are in Egypt, and I have heard their cry because of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. The Israelites in Egypt were slaves. God could see that they were not happy and wanted to help them escape. He knew that Moses would be this person to complete this task. God could actually see that I was not happy when I was living at home with my family. I moved to Terre Haute and started my new job as a correctional officer. When I got to home from work one morning, I noticed my dog had torn up my curtains. Was not happy. I called some friends at the time. They helped me fix these curtains. God knew at this time that they would become my mother and father-in-law. God put these two in my life, knowing that they have helped me overcome things that I never thought was even possible. God put them in my life to help me, just like he did Moses helping the Israelites. God gives chances for us to obey him, but when we don't, there are severe consequences. So we must obey or pay the consequences. Pharaoh refused to listen to God when he told him what to do, so God brought on the first 6 plagues. The first plague was the Nile becoming blood. The blood was toxic red algae brought about by the hot weather and the nutrient-rich water. The second plague was the frogs were forced ashore. This had occurred because of the decaying fish and the polluted waters of the Nile. The third plague is the coming of the gnats. The gnats fed on the microorganisms and decaying animals such as the frogs and the fish. The fourth plague is the coming of the flies. The stable fly is found in open sunny areas, and it transmits anthrax and other animal diseases. The fifth plague was the pestilence upon the livestock. The death of the livestock was brought about by the African horse sickness and the blue tongue, which was also brought on by the stable flies from the fourth plague. The sixth plague is the presence of boils. These boils were more like glanders. They produced the festering boils, which would have been carried out by, once again, the stable flies. God will give you many chances to obey him when you don't obey the first time. God gave Pharaoh a second chance to release the Israelites. However, Pharaoh was stubborn and did not obey. This was brought about on the last 4 plagues. The 7th plague was the hailstorm, which the land was moistened during this time. The 8th plague was the locusts. They had swarmed the area because of the damp sand from the storm. The 9th plague was darkness, and it was brought about by a sandstorm called Khamsin. The 10th plague was the death of the firstborn. It was actually a blow to the Egyptians' idea of royal succession. The ancient Egyptians considered the eldest son one of the kings to become. So you can overcome these consequences of disobeying God. When we disobey God, we can end up with different kinds of consequences. However, if we obey God, we will be rewarded. God had actually gave me an order to tell my parents that I had to let them go. I obeyed this, and God has actually rewarded me with a chance to become a pastor, attend Valor, and actually have my whole season there at Valor covered. So I'd like to thank you all for this time, and be blessed and highly favored.